Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back after the couple of minutes break. So this session is the PMO Excellence, Addressing Today's Challenges and Tomorrow's Priorities. And we have Stephanie Wallace, Senior Advisor of PlanView, and we had Noah Newton. He's a research consultant, PlanView also. So they have a very interesting topic, so I'm gonna let them to talk. So we have 30-minute sessions. So Stephanie and Noah, the floor is all yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tony, and greetings. Welcome to the PMO Leaders 5th Annual Global Conference. So in this session, we are actually going to explore groundbreaking insights from the 2025 PMO Outlook Report and show you exactly how to transform common challenges into competitive advantages for the future. As mentioned, I'm Stephanie Wallace, and I'm honored to be here with you today. As a senior advisor at PlanView, I help empower organizations to embrace change and drive strategic transformations. I'm here with my PlanView colleague and solution consultant extraordinaire, Noah Luton. And between us, we've actually worked with hundreds of PMOs worldwide, and I'm really excited to share these insights with you today. So let's take a look at what we are going to cover. All right, so first, I'm going to share some data that will probably validate what you're experiencing in your own organizations, but some of it may actually surprise you. Then Noah's going to show you how technology can solve these problems, not just manage them, with a live demo of how PlanView Vantage tackles each of these challenges. All right, let me introduce you to the PMO Outlook Report. This report is the first solely focused on project management offices. And with a special thank you to Rachel Henkes with the PMO leader who conducted this survey for PlanView Cyforma earlier this year. Be sure to download your free copy at our virtual booth. Now, before we dive into the findings, let me tell you why this data matters. We're not just looking at theoretical problems here. We surveyed real PMO leaders across all levels of the organization and company sizes. This ensures our insights reflect the real challenges across all organizational levels as they strive for PMO excellence. All right, let's get into our first major finding, and this one might hit close to home. We've discovered that there is a massive disconnect between what we're measuring and what actually matters. PMOs are being measured on budget and timeline criteria, while stakeholders are actually judging success on something completely different. So it's like you're playing basketball while being scored on football rules. You can be incredibly good at what you're doing, but if you're not playing the right game, you're never going to win. So future-ready PMOs must address this fundamental misalignment between activity and impact. Traditional metrics are failing us, and it's time we acknowledge this challenge head on. Now, this data reveals the heart of our challenge. There's a 39% difference between how stakeholders define failure versus how budget performance defines success. This misalignment explains why PMOs can deliver a successful project, but executives still consider it to be a failure. We're literally playing different games with different scoreboards, and it's preventing us from being truly strategically aligned. All right, when we analyze failure reasons, patterns start to emerge that directly impact our ability to be future ready. The shifts between 24 and 25 have shown evolving challenges, but one thing remains consistent. Many failures stem from issues that could have been solved from better portfolio management and alignment. When we dig into the projects that fail, the patterns are again revealing. Noticing how different roles perceive the failure differently, while executives focus on strategic misalignment, project managers say they need more resources. They don't have enough. Future-ready PMOs must be able to bridge this gap to be successful. Another key finding was around the top challenges PMOs face today. We've actually identified the same problem for 4 consecutive years. So, what tops the list again this year? Should be no surprise here. Resource management, once again named the top challenge, with 75% of PMOs citing they don't have enough resources to meet their demands. However, the statistic varied by who we actually asked. So while executives felt more confident in their resourcing, project managers did not always agree. However, I want to challenge that thinking for just a moment. What if the problem isn't that we don't have enough resources? What if the problem is that we're not optimizing the resources we already have? What if we're saying yes to too many things because we don't have the visibility we need to make better decisions? This isn't just about headcount, it's about resource optimization, strategic alignment, and the ability to make tough prioritization decisions. Now let's talk about the evolving role of the PMO. This year's data shows us something remarkable. PMOs are no longer just project coordination centers. The PMOs that are thriving in 25 are the ones that have redefined their purpose, from managing projects to enabling that strategic value delivery. They're the ones that are sitting at the executive table, influencing portfolio decisions and driving organizational transformation. And this shift is accelerating. So we asked executives, PMO leaders, project managers, what they believe the role of the PMO should be. And the responses were eye-opening. I mean, look at this disconnect. 88% of executives see the PMO role as a mix of functions, governance, business improvement, reporting, all working together nicely. But when we look at PMO leaders and project managers, we see much more fragmented thinking. This represents a massive opportunity for us. Executives want strategic PMOs, but many PMOs have not evolved to meet that expectation. Those organizations that close that gap first will be the ones that secure strategic positioning and executive sponsorship. Now, here's a statistic that should energize every person in this room. 97% of CEOs report taking steps to change how they create, deliver, and capture value over the past 5 years. Think about that, what that means for us. Our executives are actively looking for partners to help them transform value delivery. They're not looking for project coordinators. They're looking for those strategic enablers who can help them navigate the transformation. So this is the moment for PMOs to step up and claim their seat at their strategic table. This evolution is reflected in successful PMOs and how they're being measured. Notice there's a shift from, again, the traditional value metrics to value-based measurements. Even PMI, their research shows that project success is actually now defined as delivered value that was worth the expense and effort. It's not just a nice sentiment. It's a fundamental redefinition of what success means. So PMOs that are going to embrace this shift and align their measurement frameworks accordingly are going to be the ones that will thrive in the coming years. Now, our fourth and final finding focuses on something that may seem tactical, but is actually deeply strategic, and that is your tool choice. We found 80% of high-performing PMOs effectively leverage technology, but it's not about having tools. It's about having the right tools. Now, here's where the story really gets interesting. We found that organizations using spreadsheets for portfolio management are 36% more likely to be misaligned with strategic priorities. That's not a small difference. That's a massive strategic disadvantage. Your technology choice is either enabling your strategic evolution or preventing it. Now, I mentioned PMO success metrics are changing, and you can clearly see this movement when we look at how they're measured, layered with what type of tool they use. Your tools aren't just affecting your operational efficiency, they're influencing how your organization perceives and measures PMO value. Now, let me synthesize everything we've learned today into 3 critical actions. First, redefine and rethink what success really means to you and your organization. Stop accepting measurement frameworks that don't align with business value. And don't be afraid to advocate for the metrics that really matter. Second, the resource challenge is not going away. So your future-ready PMO must ruthlessly prioritize, align with strategic goals, and advocate for resources that deliver the maximum impact. Third, just ditch the spreadsheets. Adopt smarter tools. Now, I could talk all day about this data, but Noah is actually going to do something much better. He's going to show you exactly how PlanView Vantage transforms these challenges into competitive advantages. So Noah, take it away and show our audience what a future-ready PMO looks like in action.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Stephanie, and thank you everyone for being here and watching our presentation today. I'm going to provide just a brief overview of how PlanView Vantage can help solve some of the challenges that Stephanie had just mentioned, specifically around issues like strategic alignment, resource management, and more. So in just this brief 15 minutes, we'll try to cover as much ground as we can. So I'm logged in right now in my Vantage environment, and I'm going to first talk about how we can define the strategic plan across the organization, and then beginning at the start of the project lifecycle, really in that ideation phase, how we can link those ideas to our strategic objectives to make sure that we're prioritizing the work that matters most. So within the system here, we have the ability to build out that strategic plan. So you can first define what are some of your top level objectives, things like financial health, organizational, your growth goals, as well as sub-objectives that fall underneath those. From there, you can then determine who are my key stakeholders and what are some of the different KPIs and metrics that we're interested in tracking. Maybe it's completing 5 projects related to a specific goal. As those projects are being worked on, the system is then going to automatically update those different KPI progress for you. If you're tracking something like a financial goal, for example, well, maybe there's a percentage metric that needs to be tracked in relation to that. And that, again, is tying right into that project data. So if for at any time you want to select on any of these objectives, let's say cost reduction as an example, and immediately get in a single view or need to see in a single view, what are all of the different projects, business cases, and ideas in the pipeline that are connected to this objective, and how is it performing? So I can see that right away here. I can see just a quick update on here's all of my different projects with some information such as the last updated completion percentage, all the information around my labor, effort, and cost, as well as my health score, which is an algorithm that Vantage is running on all of your projects, taking into account things like your cost, your quality, your scope. That score can be very important in kind of identifying those red flags immediately and being able to drill into those projects. So at any time or ideally the goal is, as we are creating ideas and projects within Vantage, we are tying those to the strategic objectives. That's really going to help us when we begin to prioritize, compare all of our work in the pipeline, decide on which ones are going to bring us the most value as an organization. The system can really begin at this ideation phase, where typically anybody with a license can come in here and create a new project idea, and you can have different templates associated with these. Maybe you have different requirements for an IT development idea compared to a research and development idea. Maybe there's a different level of workflow that needs to occur, multiple layers of approval. Maybe there's different scoring metrics and criteria. So all of that can be captured here within the beginning of the life cycle here in this ideation phase, where somebody will come in, they'll determine the priority, they'll go through scoring that idea, describing the value, and linking in those strategic objectives that we just talked about. And that could be one or multiple. From there, in the next stage of the project lifecycle in Vantage, we like to build out that business case. So at the ideation phase, really just gathering some of those basic requirements, right? The value, the score, it progresses through that workflow. Really in the business case stage, we are trying to now build out that resourcing plan, building out, how long is this project going to take? Some of the tasks that are going to be involved, the work breakdown structure, and what are some of the financials that are going to be associated with this project. It's all going to be very important for us because we want to make sure that we have the resource capacity to take on this work. We want to make sure we have the budget. And so Vantage really gives you all of the tools for you to be able to make those key decisions. So here within the Project Center, for example, I can see all of my different business cases and projects. I can adjust this data however needed. The system's incredibly flexible in the sense that I can easily adjust my grouping if I want to get visibility into all of my different portfolios, like you see here. Immediately, I can see my latest status report and health score, which gives me all of the key updates on how my projects and business cases are performing. So pulling in all of that live project data around timing, effort, and cost. And I can pick and choose which dashboards and reports are going to be relevant for me as well. Maybe I have some mandatory deliverables as part of my business case or project. I need to track the progress there. Maybe I want to see risk analysis or a strategic roadmap here. All of that can be visualized really quickly in a status report and shared out to external stakeholders. We also are running this health score algorithm, which is taking into account those three categories that I had just mentioned. So when we are at the stage of building out a business case in Vantage, we're really hoping to answer those questions that I mentioned. Who are the resources? How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost? Projects in Vantage can be highly complex, or we can support all project methodologies, or it can be very simple. Maybe a project is just a series of action items with an assignee, and you want to manage it through a Kanban board. That is fully supported in the tool. Or if you need to, run your different agile projects or even critical chain as an example, that can all be managed as well. As far as resource management, that being one of the challenges that Stephanie had mentioned in the beginning, Vantage wants to make it very simple to identify who are the resources that are able to work on this project, what is their capacity moving forward, to ensure that we're not overbooking or booking resources that are simply overallocated. If I select on any one of my tasks, I have this panel that opens up here, and this allows me to make two different types of assignments, soft assignment or a hard assignment. Because we're at the business case phase, maybe we have an idea of the type of resource that is going to be working on the project, but we don't know who exactly. We can build out a soft assignment. And as part of all of these resources profiles, you can sort by information such as the organization they belong to or the team, their job classification, and even filter by their skill set. And so ultimately the goal is, after building out that soft assignment as part of that business case phase, once you're ready to fulfill, the system's going to tell you exactly who is available to work on this task over the length of it, and who's going to be over allocated. So for example, if I wanted to book somebody like John Perry here on this task, but I see that he's over capacity for the week, I can open up into any of my resources profiles and see what are all of the other projects and tasks that they're working on. What is the reason for that over allocation? And we can use these adjust this date range. Maybe I want to do, and I can do sources for this project. After building out that business case, we can then get into a very robust business case ranking view. So imagine you're in a strategic planning meeting, for example, and you're trying to, compare all of your different projects in the pipeline or business cases using spreadsheets. Some of these business cases might not be aligned to your strategic objectives. Some of these might have really shaky ROI estimates. Vantage is going to bring together all of that work connected from that idea where we describe the priority level, the score, we've attached it to that strategic objective. And then at the business case level, where we've started to build out that plan a little bit more with our resourcing, our financials, and our work breakdown structure, now we can have a single view where I can choose which portfolio I'd like to focus on, or maybe all of the pipeline items across the organization, and I can begin to compare them with all of the data gathered up to this point. So here I can see the priority level, the score, as well as all of those financials. And here I can also see at the top of the screen my available budget for this portfolio. And as I begin to promote business cases from pipeline to scope, we can see some of these values begin to change. The system's going to tell me right away, if I'm going to be over budget for any time period here as I move out into the future. Here you can see from October of this year into March of 2026. And we even have a useful chart at the top of the screen, which is going to show me my payback period here on this axis towards the bottom. And then I can see my NPV here up in the top left. It's a bubble chart, so the size of the bubbles here representing the total cost of each of these business cases, and the color here is representing the overall health of these business cases as well. And so I can use this tool to help evaluate these different business cases, or I can filter by what are my top 5 NPV business cases, or even my top 5 in ROI, or even what are the business cases that are most aligned to the overall strategy. So of course, just using this view isn't going to be enough information to launch these business cases into active projects, because maybe we have 50 or so ongoing projects across the organization. We'd really like to take a deeper look at some of the resource planning and a deeper look at the budgets as well. And so one really awesome tool the system offers is our portfolio simulation tool. It's a sandbox environment that allows you to create different scenarios. I can pick and choose which groups of projects, business cases, or programs are feeding into this. And then I can begin to make different trade-offs at the portfolio level to balance in the best way possible. You're not always going to be able to do it perfectly, but this tool is going to help you do it the best way you can. And so just to explain a little bit what we're seeing on the screen, on the left-hand side here, and I'll zoom in just a bit here. On the left-hand side, I have all of my projects followed by all of my business cases. And they're all turned on, so they're set to go on their schedule. All of my projects are active on their current schedule, and all of the business cases set to their planned schedule. And you can see that roadmap here to the right of my screen. You can see all of the work that's been done up to this point here in this dark blue shade, and then all of the planned work here in this light blue shade. And we have a resource workload summary here at the top of my screen. So this blue line is representing the available effort across the entire organization. And I can see how that effort is divided. All of my projects showing up here in this purple shade, and then all of my business cases here in this green shade. This can be expressed as days or hours, whatever unit you'd like to look at here. And so the goal is, right now I have all the projects and business cases activated, and it looks like you have enough capacity. However, it's not incredibly useful to combine everybody's hours across the organization as part of this scenario. So what we can do is see in this given scenario here, what teams in particular are going to be over allocated. And so here I can see on a team breakdown, which ones with indicators are going to be under allocated here in this amber color, or here are going to be over allocated with this red arrow, or are going to be right on target here with this green check mark. Right away, my eyes are drawn to my development team, who from December 2025 to March 2026 are significantly over allocated. I can even use this drop-down menu here to see which projects and business cases in particular are draining the most from this resource pool. And so now I can go back to my scenario if I really just want to focus on that development team. I can filter to have this chart up above only reflect that team. And I have a few different options for how I can manage this scenario. So maybe that consists of me toggling off some of the business cases in the pipeline to see how that frees up my capacity. You can see we immediately get a refresh there. Maybe it's going to consist of me taking some of my projects and business cases and shifting them out by a few months or a few weeks. And we can easily interact with this roadmap by clicking and dragging to move out into the future. And again, we'll get a refresh there. So this tool can be utilized not only for workload summary, but also for budgets, for cash flow, and even for looking at your external workload as well. If you have any external resources that are part of these projects and business cases and you want to use this, then that can be done. And so that's really how I'd like to show the demand management lifecycle in the Vantage platform. Of course, at a very high level with our limited time here, but beginning with building out that strategic plan to ensure that every idea, business case, project that you create moving forward is aligned with that strategic vision, and then showing how we can create ideas in the system, score them, prioritize them, rank them, build out the business case to now come up with more information on resourcing, cost, and the schedule, and then using these different portfolio level tools to rank and to run different scenarios to ensure that all of the work that you're launching, there's not going to be any constraints in terms of your cost and your resourcing and that strategic alignment. So I thank you all for taking the time to watch my brief presentation. Stephanie, I'll pass it back to you.
All right, just a quick reminder before we close out today to download a complimentary copy of the 2025 PMO Outlook report at our booth. And, more importantly, if you've seen anything today that resonates with your transformation goals, we'd love to continue conversations. So please feel free to reach out, find us on LinkedIn, and we're here to help and support you along your journey. Dr. Tony, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie, Noah, for the interesting presentation. As I always say, you need help. PlanView, as I was a user of PlanView when I worked for FIS Global. So I have a question from Juan Reyes that he asking, what platform or software are you using?
Yes, so the tool I showed today is the PlanView Vantage platform.
Okay. So let me see if I have some other question. I don't have any other question, but thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you for supporting us also as a sponsor of this event. So we're gonna go into the next section. We're gonna have 10-minute breaks, and we're going reconnecting another interesting session. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Okay, bye. Back.